Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on November the 1st, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our economic calendar here. So today we had a ton of data that came out. So coming up here, still we have employment data out of Japan, which is likely to have an impact on Japanese yen. And we also have final manufacturing PMI data out of Japan as well as we have PMI numbers out of China. So overall here, just a couple of points of data coming up. The PMI numbers here, the previous PMI numbers that came out of China, they were below expectations. So when we have negative data come out of China, it does impact Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. So keep an eye on those crosses when these numbers come out. So if they are below expectations, we're likely to see Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar drop. Now, Friday here coming up, November 1st, we do have data coming out from US. We have we have non-farm payroll data, which is always a market mover, so keep an eye on that. Although the FOMC was pretty big this week, so we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get from non-farm payroll, but usually this is market moving information. So two things that we'll have to keep in mind: employment numbers as well as the average hourly earnings. So overall, both of these numbers have to come in line with expectations. If either one of them drops below expectations, we could see a negative impact on US dollar. And then we also have ISM manufacturing PMI numbers for the US, as well as construction numbers, and then a bunch of FOMC members speaking. So overall here with the FOMC members, it's likely to be a repeat of what was said in FOMC. So not really expecting a whole lot of volatility as a result, but the non-farm payroll will be the main thing that we see coming out tomorrow. So let's go on to our charts now. So starting off with euro dollar here. So yesterday we had talked about how euro may go into 1.1165 or 1.1180. It just stopped a little shy of that 1180 level here. So today we have an indecision candle. As we can see, we are into resistance here. So at this point, what I'm looking for is a potential retest of either 1.1165 and then a drop. So this is the range that price has been trading in over the last 2 to 3 weeks here. So looking for either retest of 1165 or a retest of 1.1180 and then a drop here. So looking for a bit of a pullback and then a drop. So the bias here is neutral because of the indecision candle, but generally when we see an indecision candle, a lot of times we generally see the pattern will change or the trend will reverse. So keep that in mind. Not necessarily, but a lot of times that tends to happen. So just like this one, we had a bunch of indecision candles and then the uptrend basically changed here. So we could see a similar move here as well. Now, for some reason, if it does break through, for example, let's say the non-farm payroll numbers come in really poor, then we could see a move even through the high here. But otherwise, overall, though, I'm just expecting a bit of a pullback and then a drop. So indecision candle here, neutral bias for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, this one is into resistance here, and we could see so the candle is bullish here, but we are into resistance now. So if we take away these additional lines, we see that price has also, this price here for pound dollar has also been trading in a range for the last couple of weeks here. It's just gone back and forth, hasn't really made much of a progress. So now looking back at it, we see that price is into support and resistance at the current level. But the bias is bullish. We have a bullish candle close, but what I would look for is I will look for reasons to see if the price will turn here. However, it could go higher, so be mindful of that. It could go all the way into the high of this range that price has been trading in and then turn. On the other hand, it could just retest high of today and then turn. So we have two levels here to keep an eye on, 1.2980 and 1.3020. Both of these levels are the ones I would watch for a potential reversal here, but bias is bullish, and next target I would say is 1.3020, and this is where we are likely to see a reversal. So bullish bias for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, we have a pin bar here. There's a bit of a pin in the bottom, but we see that price went all the way up here into 0.6920 level, and then it dropped from there. So bias here is to the downside. We have a bearish candle close here. So I would look for a pullback towards 0.6910 potentially, and then a drop here. Target is 0.6850. So bearish bias for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar, we still have a bullish candle close here. Price could go higher towards the high here at 0.6450. So I would say bullish bias here for New Zealand. And then once price gets into the high here, this is the point that I would look for a potential reversal here. Again, we have to wait for the reversal signs, but overall bias is bullish and target is 0.6450. Dollar CAD here, this is an indecision candle here. We see that price didn't quite make it to the high here. It only made it to our support resistance at 1.3180. So this is an indecision candle. At this point, I will look for a retest of the high of the day again at 1.3180. If it doesn't go through, we could see price drop here. So overall, bias is neutral. We'll just have to see how price wants to behave now. We do have this big inefficient move to the upside, which could get filled. So if you take a look at our hourly chart, we see this big inefficient quick move here. And if price stays below 1.3180, we could see price drop first into 1.3140 and then potentially all the way into 1.3080. So I would be mindful of that. But for now, bias is neutral. And I'm looking for a pullback into 1.3180 and then a drop towards 1.3140. So neutral bias here for dollar CAD. Looking at our commodities now, first we'll look at silver. So silver, we saw that twice price went and tested the low. Yesterday we had an indecision candle. So today we saw price go up. Actually, one thing that I didn't mention earlier was that there were comments that came out of China, supposedly, that said that China is not sure if they can actually reach a long-term trade agreement with the US. And those comments or comments like that are actually negative because they show that US and China are still not able to come to an agreement with the trade talks. Now, there were also comments from President Trump saying, even though the summit they were supposed to have where US and China were supposed to sign a short-term deal or short-term agreement, that one has been canceled because it was supposed to be in Chile and that's been canceled. So they're looking for, or they will come up with a new place, or they will disclose a new place where US and China will meet to sign a short-term agreement here. But overall, though, China is saying that they don't think a long-term agreement can be reached with US is actually negative for the equity markets, but it is positive for the safe haven assets. So yen crosses, this is why we have seen the yen crosses drop today, because yen strengthened as a result of that. And we have seen safe haven assets go up as well. And we'll take a look at equities. Equities drop when we see this type of uncertainty in the market. So all throughout October, we were seeing positive comments from the negotiations with US and China. Now, I was expecting more of the negative comments. Unfortunately, that didn't play out. So this is why we had such a big move up in the equities as well as the risky assets in October. But now we'll have to see how things actually play out. So this was the first set of comments that we have seen. So just recently we have seen more uncertainty from both the partners. So if more of those type of comments come, then we are likely to see this move towards safe haven assets. So just keep that in mind. As a result of this, we saw the silver went up. So right now, bias is bullish. So we have a bullish candle close. Price has finally gone through this resistance level and has moved higher. So right now, bias is bullish. First target is 18.30, and then the second target is 18.50. So here, bias is bullish for silver. Now we could get a move back down here towards 17.95 approximately before it goes higher. So watch out for that pullback. And then I will look for a move higher. Bias is bullish for silver. First target 18.30 and then 18.50. Same thing with gold as well. Yesterday, we did have a bullish candle close for the gold. It rejected the support level, and we saw a nice follow through to the upside here. So bias is bullish. Now we could get a bit of a pullback into 1507 or 1500 level. So watch out for that, but it is bullish bias. Next target is 1517 and then 1527. So I would look for a bit of a pullback and then move higher. So bullish bias here for gold. Oil here. Oil has been dropping. Yesterday we were looking for a drop. It pulled all the way back here and dropped. So bias is still to the downside. 53.50 is the first target, and then 52.80 is the second target. In terms of the pullback, we could look at 54.50. So bias is bearish here for oil, and we could see a further drop in oil here. First target is 53.50 and then 52.80. Copper as well. Yesterday we were looking for a drop. We got this big drop here. So bias is still bearish here, looking for a pullback towards 2.60 and then a drop towards 2.57. So bias is bearish for copper. Bitcoin here, we have an indecision candle. Price did drop here, but it doesn't look as bearish. It is lower than it was, but it seems to be getting into support or coming into support here. So this 9080 level is very important. If price, or as long as price stays above this level, I will look for price to go back up here. So bias is neutral because we do have an indecision candle close. So bias is neutral, but looking for it to go higher, and target would be 9900. And then our equities here, we saw that price wasn't able to make it through the high, so it has dropped. Now it's still above the previous resistance level. This is where price was capped for quite some time. So if it doesn't get through, then it could just get stuck there, and then this one could go higher from there. So we have to watch out here. So right now bias is bearish, but for that bearishness to continue, we would need to see a drop, a pullback, and a continuation to the downside. On the other hand, though, if it pulls back into the low of the day from today and then holds above, this one could go higher. So very important to pay attention to this previous resistance level, which could now act as support. So this is at 3020 level. So for now, bias is bearish. First target would be 3020 and then 3000. So bearish bias here for S&P 500. Nasdaq here, this is looking bearish. Couldn't really go through the high. Again, it's holding above the previous resistance, which could then act as support. So looking for a drop here first towards the support level here at 8010, and then if it goes through that level into 7970. So bias is bearish for Nasdaq. DAX here, this one as well, it couldn't really go through the high, so this one has dropped as well. Bias is bearish. First target is 26,900, and below that we're looking at 26,750. So bearish bias for, sorry, not DAX, Dow Jones here, but bearish bias for Dow Jones as well, 26,900, and then 26,750 is the second target. DAX here, DAX was interesting. We did see a drop, but then right into this previous support resistance level, price pulled higher. And now we're kind of in this range here as well. So what I'm looking for here would be a retest of the low here again, the support level at 12,780. And if it doesn't go through, this one could go higher as well. So it's important. So right now, the equity markets, even though they dropped for the day, they're still holding above their previous resistance levels. So if they don't get through, then they could still continue to the upside. So we just need to be careful when shorting these indices. So right now, bias is bearish for DAX. First target, 12,780. Second target, 12,675. Bias is bearish for DAX as well. FTSE here, this is the range that we had talked about yesterday. Price couldn't go through the high, so it came back towards the bottom here. So bias is bearish, but again, we are just above this resistance level, which is now acting as support. So if it doesn't get through, this one could still go back into the range here. And that's what we have to be careful about. So it could just basically go like this. But bias is bearish, so we need to see a drop, a pullback, and then I will look for a further drop. And the target is 7,200. So bearish bias for FTSE. Nikkei here, we had a nice bearish engulfing candle here. Bias is bearish. First target is 22,600. And below that, we're looking at 22,500. So bias is bearish. We could get a bit of a pullback into 22,800. And then I'm looking for a drop. So bearish bias here for Nikkei as well. So that's it for today. You guys have a great trading week. Sorry, great trading day tomorrow. And then I'll be back with the weekly market analysis on Sunday. Okay, have a wonderful trading day. See you on Sunday. Bye for now.